Dear viewer, thank you very much for joining us today. We are Amiel, Lucas and Amanda from the oikos St.Gallen Sustainable Finance team.
We conducted a series of interviews where we tried to provide students with some insights about possible career paths within the sustainable finance and the sustainability industry.
In this video, we had the opportunity to ask Tina Ruchti from elea about her career path, her time at HSG, and her current job as director at elea. We really enjoyed talking to her and hope you get as many insights from the interview as we did.
So I don't know, as you might know, I did my master in international affairs at HSG, and then actually started my career in banking, more specifically at Credit Suisse in the business development and strategy department for Latin America. And yeah, I think that was a great start. I mean, we did a lot of interesting projects and work. I also had the opportunity to spend part of my work time in Mexico City itself, so that was really cool. I learned a lot, but I also relatively soon realized I actually want to do something more purposeful or spend my energy on something that I can really stand behind, and that, you know, even after a very long day, feel like that I contributed something. So yeah, but I didn't really, you know, had this perspective going into impact investing, and I didn't have a clear idea. So I actually just quit out of the blue and didn't really have anything lining up. And more as a coincidence, I stumbled upon elea, or I met someone who worked at elea, and they were looking for someone to help them on the ground for a social enterprise in Kenya. And yeah, I then started as an external consultant, basically on the ground in Kenya. And yeah, really enjoyed it, loved it. And at the end now, since I think, yeah, more than 3 years ago, I started full-time in Zurich. Well, that's hard, especially, you know, pre-COVID and post-COVID, or in the middle of COVID. So maybe I can start with saying we have like 3 key pillars of our model, or what we do. One part is the whole investment management part, where we identify or scout pipeline and impact ventures. Then the entire due diligence process, where we really investigate in depth whether it's a fit from a topic perspective, but also financially, where we look at the impact very closely, things like that. And then once we've invested, we actually collaborate with these impact ventures for 5 up to 10 years. And then the whole, we call this the value creation part, starts, where we support the ventures in strategic topics or governance topics, things like that. So that is the whole investment management part, which is also the major part we're engaged with. Then the second pillar is our philanthropic investor circle. That's obviously how we're funded, and where we also report on a yearly basis, that we have meetings where we also sit together with our philanthropic investors to select their portfolio on companies, things like that, and where we also fundraise. And then the third pillar is our professional development area, which is, you know, generally mentoring, progressing in your career, training, things like that. And there specifically, I engage in building up and supporting the elea talent program. You might have heard through the HSG talent conference. And there it's a program that we've developed 2 years ago, where we specifically recruit graduates from university and involve them in a 2 years program. And yeah, I think these are like the 3 key pillars, and where basically my day is shaped around, obviously not always in the same proportion. Yeah, and with relation to pre and post COVID, we used to travel a lot and be on the ground, work together with our social businesses, also scouting and really doing due diligence, always involved in the past, being on the ground and actually seeing the impact. And yeah, that's obviously a bit on hold right now, which is sad, but yeah, we've also tried and yeah, actually made it possible to cover as much through Zoom as we do right now. So yeah. So that's a good question. So I mean, generally what motivates me most is our work with our entrepreneurs. I think these people are extremely inspiring, and yeah, it's just great to work with them. And yeah, I think that's one of my most motivating factors. Secondly, I think it's great because we have the opportunity to see a lot of different, very innovative business models. We get to really investigate in depth, again, like deal with a lot of different entrepreneurs, and you get to cover from really hardcore financial parts to also more philosophical impact questions. So I think that's really interesting. So you actually never stop learning. There's really, you can't have a case that is the same to another. So I think that's great. And yeah, I mean, the third reason is the team. We are a very team culture organization, so we work almost for everything in teams, and we are all extremely driven and committed, and that's really inspiring as well. So there's, you know, always that everyone is giving the most that this person can, and yeah, I want to say we're cool people. It's really actually awesome to work with them, which is what motivating, especially right now as we all sit at home. You know, it's helpful to have a strong team culture, and we're all, which is probably weird because I heard other people saying, I don't want to go to the office again. And in our case, it's like, I really want to go back to the office and see everyone. We're always trying to come up with excuses how we can spend the day at the office. But yeah, so these are basically my three key reasons. Yeah, so what I really enjoyed at HSG is, I mean, as you know, the broad offering to go and exchange and go abroad, which, I mean, not only the offering, but really this push. I think I remember even in the assessment year, it's the first thing that they tell you. You have to go abroad, you have to get good grades because that makes you to, you know, you can get to really cool universities. And I think that's cool. And I know from other universities, it's not that, or it's not pushed that much. And I think that international exposure helps you in everything. For me, especially because we are exposed, we work in emerging markets in very different cultures. And I mean, the more experience you have abroad, the better. Another thing that I really liked at HSG, or specifically at my master in international affairs, was the encouragement for critical thinking. I remember, at least when I was there, we didn't have to so much learn. I don't know, were the cards called again? The
car carton.
The car, exactly, the car carton. I mean, in bachelor, yes, but in master, we were very much encouraged to actually use and apply tools. And we had, you know, I remember we had to once write an article that against the Economist, or like an argument that the Economist came up with, and we were all like, come on, it's the Economist, right? But I thought it was really cool to really encourage us that, you know, every opinion is not, it's not right or true, right or wrong. So yeah, I like that about HSG, and generally, like, there's so many clubs and things you can engage in, and also really giving you that practical perspective and professional view. I sometimes regret that I didn't I didn't use that opportunity more, but I think there's definitely, whatever you want to do, there's somewhere a club, right, at HSG. So I think that's pretty cool. Not really, actually. I don't even know. Well, I'm sure that oikos and all that stuff's already existed when I was there, but I don't know, not really, I have to say. My perspective was more, that's also why I first started into the for-profit sector in a way, because I always had this notion, or I really wanted to do something in a global perspective, or really tackle one of the global or biggest problems. But in a way, I was always felt, okay, you know, UN and the whole development aid, that's not, I don't really believe in that approach and don't feel that I'm going to be happy. So, you know, just let's go to the for-profit and see what's out there. But yeah, I don't recall, I didn't get in touch so much with this topic of sustainable finance at that time. Yeah, I think at least that was my perspective, and I don't know if it's still true, but I feel that you know, especially these HSG career fairs, they focus still a lot on like these really bigger organizations, you know, consulting, banking, or I think to some certain degree also bigger NGOs or the UN and all these topics, but actually doesn't cover smaller players. I mean, now elea, it's the third time we do a workshop at the HSG Talent Conference, but I think there's still a lot of really innovative and cool companies out there, or organizations that somehow touch upon this sustainable financing topic. Not, I mean, impact investing is a really big term, right? I mean, UBS does, Credit Suisse does somehow impact investing, but it's completely different to what we do. But giving a bit more, or shedding some light into that whole spectrum between what we consider impact investing at Credit Suisse and what, for example, elea as a philanthropic impact investor does, I think that would be really interesting, because at least I wasn't aware that there are these organizations that are working with, like, in a very entrepreneurial way, or support entrepreneurial initiatives, while at the same time, in a way, doing development aid, or supporting or helping, for example, people living in poverty to increase their livelihoods or improve their livelihoods. So yeah, maybe shedding more light into what's out there and how the landscape looks like, and encouraging smaller organizations to participate in these events, because I think we actually get a lot of traction and a lot of people are interested in the topic. Yeah, so I think one part is definitely business acumen. I think like the really basis of business and, you know, financials and like the really basic skills is something that we also, when we hire for our ETP talents, we also look for. But at the same time, you really need a lot of enthusiasm for, in our case, for emerging markets, or for whatever, you know, space you're going into. For example, if you, I don't know, if you want to go into more environmental sustainability, you need to show a lot of enthusiasm for that and for what you're going to work in. And obviously a bit of experience wouldn't hurt, although I know that, you know, coming straight from university, that's difficult. But yeah, I would say for us at least, this basic business acumen, business skills, analytical and problem solving skills are really important. And I would assume that that might be the case for others as well. Yeah, so actually, as I said, I think we did not expect so much interest, because we are a small organization. And I think 3 years ago, we did our first, or we participated for the first time at the HSG Talent Conference, or just organized a workshop. And I remember that we were saying, oh God, what do we do if we don't have enough people? Like, we should at least have 10, right? I mean, it's a bit sad if not more people come and sign up for the workshop. And then at the end, we had to reject more than 50% of the applications. And we were, yeah, really, really positively surprised. It was also in all of the past 3 years, great, this enthusiasm from students, and we were always really surprised how they also solved the cases and really deeply thought about the different aspects. And yeah, that was really encouraging. And still then, I think for the last year when we recruited another 2 positions, I think we got around 180 applications for these 2 positions. We did not expect anything like that, and really great profiles. You know, also people that, you know, applied at the same time for McKinsey or the big investment bank. So that was actually pretty cool, and we hope that traction is going to continue. So our goal is, of course, we want to retain them and hope that they make a career within elea and specialize in one of our areas and really grow with us. But we also know that it's a career start, right? So we want to, within these 2 years, really prepare them to make a career in this space, which, if that is more maybe going towards a venture capital firm or really more on the impact side, I think we want to prepare them for whatever opportunity they have. At the end, if they want to go to, I don't know, McKinsey, or if they want to go to a bank later on to have that experience, we want to basically give them the basics to also do that. But I think there is definitely too little opportunities for people graduating to actually directly from university do something in that area. I mean, I think there are opportunities. It's still generally a small field within Switzerland, but it's mostly for people that already have or bring experience, and very little actually recruit directly from university. And we hope that with our program, we spark a little that, or we hope others start to offer that as well. It's an investment and a lot of time that we put into this, but I think it's worth it. And part of our mission in a way to also to contribute to the broader impact investment space. Yeah, well, what is normal impact investing? I think we have to see this like 2 different perspectives, right? We have on the very right end, or the very commercial end, we have the purely for-profit commercial, you know, corporations or ventures. And then on the other side, we have the completely non-profit space, or foundations that give grants or, you know, do development aid on the ground. And then you can go from that spectrum to the other and have a lot of variations in between. You have when we just look at the social impact investing, there's also the more environmental aspect, of course, but like considering now the social impact investing space, you can have more commercially oriented impact investors, like PG impact investment or LGTV, for example, that you know, they do impact investing, but they, of course, they need a certain commercial return. Then you have more and more go slowly towards what we're doing, which is philanthropic impact investing, which in a way means that we also invest in for-profit entities, but we have, of course, a much longer and more patient horizon than others that need a financial return. We do not, our lens is not so much different. So we also, when we do due diligence, look at the venture in a sense that we want this, or these companies need to become profitable at some point. But one essential part that we can provide is, besides financial support, also this, what I mentioned before, strategic inputs and basically helping them more a consulting basis to basically scale and grow. Because at that niche where we're investing, besides financing, this is another big gap where they really need support, and that a more commercial impact investor can't really engage with, because transaction costs are extremely high, right? So our ticket sizes are between 200 to 500,000, which if we do an equity investment, no commercial investor could do that, because due diligence take a lot of time, up to 3 to 6 months. And so that's, let's say, that the valley of death in a way for some really innovative companies that have great impact and really have the potential to scale, but are too risky for even for more commercially driven impact investors. So I think that's where you get a lot of different or different players in between these two sides. Nobody likes to invest alone, and we always, I think, in actually almost all our investments, we do co-investments with others, that other impact investors, because it's also sharing some of the risks. Also, other investors contribute in certain areas, and yeah, and we do share on pipeline. It's not yet so vivid. It's still work in progress, because every investor has a bit of a different lens, and pipeline sharing is not so common for everyone. But we're slowly also now really building up that network and have trust. We have some, especially for those investments that we already have in common. So there's more sharing in between the different investors. Yeah, I mean, I think definitely, and I mean, you see that too. It's really trending right now. You could almost say it's a bubble, but actually, I do think that it's going to stay long term. And I think we're still in the beginning of this whole impact investing space. I think that still these two worlds I described before could come much more closer together. So the commercial and the let's say impact space. Yeah, I think one challenge that still is there for impact enterprises is that it's still difficult to raise capital, because still now it's also it's not very clear how you measure the impact. It's also not appreciated yet in the market. So there is still impact ventures still have to be dealt with a discount or are dealt with a discount instead of a premium. So ideally, someday in the future, we would have somehow an impact currency that also reflects actually this the premium they actually do for society, right? I mean, we probably have the same challenge in the environmental space, but I think that's an opportunity that we have, and maybe it still needs 2-3 decades until we get there, but I hope or there is an opportunity that will be the case. Yeah, generally also from a talent perspective, if we're having that conversation, I still think that there's a lot of opportunities there. It's great that the interest is there, that a lot of talents and really smart people with extremely good degrees want to pursue a career there. But at the moment, it's just also a case that you still have to take a cut, for example, in salary or in payroll, because it's impact, right? Or you don't get the premium for working in the impact space yet. So I think there's also a lot to be done there. Also, as I mentioned before, providing career opportunities for graduates, and not only once you have 10 years experience. So yeah, I definitely see an opportunity there as well. And I mean, finally, also from a capital or from financial market perspective, there's still no secondary market either for impact ventures. So I think, yeah, there's a lot of opportunities going forward. Yeah, it's actually very important, and it's something that elea very early on thought about in depth, and we have built our own impact methodology in which we try to take different aspects into account. So on the one hand side, we obviously look at the beneficiaries aspect, but we we also want to take into account the more organizational perspective, the innovation factor. So we rate basically the amount of beneficiaries according to the organization, the sustainability, so profitability aspects, innovation, also different types of impact, depth and breadth of impact. And sorry, without going too much into details here, we report on that on a yearly basis to our philanthropic investors, but it also helps us specifically to make better decisions. Because if you imagine you have in general, we have 4 topic areas we're investing. For example, one is vocational, or at the employable skill building, we call it, which is more the educational, vocational training arm or ventures that operate in that segment. And on the other hand, for example, agriculture. And now you have a venture that provides better prices and better payments to, let's say, I don't know, 5,000 farmer they pay a better price for their coffee, let's assume. And on the other hand, you have a venture in the vocational training that really trains these students and provide them with a formal job that is transformational and life-changing for them. But it's maybe, let's say, 100 students. So how do you compare these 2 examples, right? And how do you make sure, like, where do you invest? Like, what does have the better impact? And that's why we use that measurement system to actually help us guiding these 2 and being able to compare ventures like these. Not specifically, because I don't know why, because it's something that we internally used or developed. There is obviously a lot of, or there's also other impact measurement tools that are out there that are used from different organizations. But there is no one or no tool yet or measurement that has really been used by the whole industry yet. Maybe that's still to come. But at the moment, it's still just us using it. It's still challenging, I think. I mean, generally there is a limitation of let's say impact ventures that really are or have the ability to scale and to become profitable. So it's a challenge when, for example, maybe we said in a few numbers, we on a yearly basis look at around 1,000 different ventures, like screening in the pipeline phase, where we just maybe have the pitch deck, have one call, or really just have a quick screening. Then we do around, I would say, 25 to 30 in-depth due diligences, where we go a bit deeper, where we look at the financial model, where we really look closer at the impact, the innovative parts, business model, etc. And then out of these, we make around 4 to 5 investments a year. So you see, the funnel is still pretty steep. This is obviously also because we want to make, with the available resources we have, make the most impact possible. And that means also, if we can invest in something that is successful, and at some point we can exit, that we can invest in another impact venture. And that means, in a way, the better we are in selecting, the better and the more impact and longer impact we create. So yeah, it's still difficult, but at the same time, you see there's a lot of different innovative ideas out there. And the more investment that goes into that area, the more ventures also are coming up, and more ventures make it over that valley of death I mentioned before. So apply for the elea talent program. No, I'm kidding. No, it's a good question, because as I said, there's not so many opportunities for graduates that come directly from university. But what I would recommend is that you think not, or maybe if you want to pursue a career impact investing, don't stick so much to this impact investing term, but try to figure out what is really what interests you. You know, are you excited about startups and innovative business models? If that excites you, then try to find, you know, try to find a job in a startup, or engage in a startup, or in a venture capital firm. If you are really excited about generally emerging markets, or then maybe find something in that space, companies that work in Africa or Latin America. Or if you're really interested from an impact perspective in environmental sustainability, try to start there and have something in your profile that makes you stand out later on, when you maybe can apply, or there's more opportunities in impact investing. Because I think that is important, that somehow there is an angle or some experience you can bring in, and maybe, you know, identifying more what excites you within this very big bubble of impact investing. Because me personally, sometimes I struggle. I know a lot of people that come to me and said, you know, can we have a chat? I'm really interested in this sustainability area. And I'm like, what exactly excites you? Because sustainability is a very big word, and there's a lot of different things in between. For me personally, it's this combination between really tackling the world's global problems, which sounds very big, but at the same time in a very entrepreneurial way. My dad has been an entrepreneur his whole life, and I just have always believed in an entrepreneurial innovative solution, versus I've been more, how can I say, disillusioned by the more classical development aid. I'm not, you know, criticizing or saying it's not effective, but me personally, I've always liked this for-profit entrepreneurial aspect, but at the same time investing that in something more sustainable. So that combination, I think, is very exciting. And as I said in the beginning, at the end, we all work a lot. We invest a lot of time in our jobs and our careers, and it's just, in a way, good, or for me personally, satisfying to know it's something you're contributing to, something positive, even if it's super marginal. We're not changing the world, but still, I think for me personally, that's satisfying. Yeah, so I mean, from an elea perspective, I have to say, solve poverty, but no, more seriously, I do think, you know, COVID, when you think about it, it just has thrown the whole poverty issue or poverty alleviation efforts 10 years back. Like, it literally has pushed hundreds of millions of people back into poverty, who just made it, you know, just made it maybe to scratch on the middle class. And yeah, I think that in a way saddens me a lot. And I think that just, motivates me, or should mean that we should even push more now, and we should not take another 10 years to make up for now these 2 years of COVID, but really try to get all the learnings that we have made in the past to do it better this time, and do it more entrepreneurial in a way. So I do think that poverty remains and will always, unfortunately, remain one of our key problems. So I would maybe, invest in that.